Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. It is Thursday, June the 7th, 2018, and there is some trouble brewing in New York City as the WWE and Madison Square Garden seem to be having some tension brewing. We're going to talk about that, but in our top story tonight, CM Punk says he's done with professional wrestling, and we are going to bring the hammer down on it right here and right now on the newest, fastest rising podcast in all of YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Podbean, baby. The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
All right, wrestling fans, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Nick Nightmare. Along with me, as always, is the world's greatest tag team, Thor, the wrestling god of thunder, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, and my little buddy, my most trusted companion, and the world heavyweight champion of microphones, Blue the Snowball. This is the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Welcome back to some news. I know we took the weekend off last week, pretty much. There was not anything really worth talking about to me, and couple that with the fact that it was my anniversary weekend. My wife and I celebrated our 11th anniversary. We didn't do so in the fashion that we were hoping, but we did the best we could, and I took the weekend off to stay with my family. We had a couple of birthday parties to attend and whatnot, so there was nothing, like I said, really that brought me to the screen here and needed to be talked about by me to you guys. But this week is a completely different situation. We've heard so many different things. We got Shawn Michaels talking about a possible return to the ring. We've got today's news, which is problems between WWE and Madison Square Garden. What? Are you kidding me? We're going to get right into that and get to our top story about this guy, CM Punk. As soon as we finish talking about this is just very quick. There's not really much facts around this right now, but the Wrestling Observer newsletter is the source for everything we are going to be discussing today, and I want to thank them over there for breaking the news. And, you know, before we really get into it, I want to say a few things about the WWE and Madison Square Garden. For as long as I've been alive, those two terms have pretty much been synonyms. They are absolutely synonymous with one another, going back to the days of Vince Sr., when Buddy Rogers was doing his thing. He was doing it in Madison Square Garden. They were exclusive to the greatest arena in the world, right? The world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, the home of the WWE. That's all you knew in New York City. When wrestling was coming to town, you were going to go see it at the Garden. Sure, they ran the Coliseum and the Meadowlands here and there, but when they came to Madison Square Garden, it was always something special. Monday Night Raw used to come from Madison Square Garden once in a while. SmackDown used to come from Madison Square Garden. They've had multiple WrestleManias. The first WrestleMania, the 10th and the 20th WrestleMania, all at Madison Square Garden. Multiple incarnations of Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble and SummerSlams. It was always, if it was in New York, it was happening at the Garden. You know, it's well documented. If you watch any of WWE's bullshit documentaries on the network, they always say, even Vince Sr., the Garden will always be the Garden, right? You gotta run the Garden, Vinny. It's the biggest venue in the world, the most famous arena. And all these years later, I actually noticed it kind of on my own. I never really thought there was much behind it, but I did say to a few friends on many occasions, I don't understand why the WWE hasn't really come back to Madison Square Garden. Sure, they want to come and run a holiday tour. They want to do house shows like they're doing with the Summer Heat Wave. You know, they have no problem with running those shows. Why aren't we getting major events at Madison Square Garden? That's why it was built. And the WWE knew that. And for many years, they were the only wrestling show in town that could run Madison Square Garden. But this weekend, details have been released where that seems to not really be the case anymore, as supposedly a date is being held by Madison Square Garden to run a wrestling event that is being promoted by an undisclosed wrestling company. Now, couple that with what happened this weekend at the Hammerstein Ballroom, and Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks were in the ring, and they teased the possibility of the second annual All In, sponsored by Ring of Honor, Cody Rhodes, and the Young Bucks, might be happening at Madison Square Garden, to which they got a rousing ovation from the very heavily New York crowd in the Hammerstein. So now you put one and one together and you want to say, hey, maybe it's going to be All In too. And for the first time in history, a non-WWE wrestling promotion is going to run the Garden. And why is that? Why doesn't the WWE see value in Madison Square Garden? Well, it's because they value their pockets more than they value tradition, and more than they value respect, and more than they value anything in the world. All they want to do is line their pockets with green. So if you're going to take too much from them, they're not going to want to play in your sandbox. And that seems to be the underlying reason that's been thrown around, that the WWE don't want to pay the somewhat high fees that are being charged by Madison Square Garden to run a show in their house. And I come back at you with this. If they have no problem paying the fees to run the show on July 7th, and they had no problem paying the fees to have Daniel Bryan Appreciation Night and Hulk Hogan Appreciation Night, and they had no problem paying the fees for the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony last time the WrestleMania was in town, which I attended at Madison Square Garden, much to my delight, and I watched Bruno Sammartino, rest in peace, get inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was a fantastic night. That all made perfect sense. Like, how would that not have happened anywhere other than Madison Square Garden? And now you have WrestleMania 35 coming to town, and from what we're seeing here, and what I have in my notes from what I'm hearing online, they're not running anything parallel to WrestleMania at Madison Square Garden. Not TakeOver, not the Hall of Fame, nothing. Nothing. And then you want to take into account that for the last 4 years, the unofficial home of the WWE in New York City has been the Barclay Center in Brooklyn. They've run SummerSlam now for the last 4 consecutive years. They've took over the entire town, and their home base was the Barclays. Nothing happening at Madison Square Garden. Is Madison Square Garden bitter? Are they mad that the WWE changed over because they don't want to pay that hefty price? If it was that important to Madison Square Garden, you could sit there and say, well, Madison Square Garden should lower their fees. Madison Square Garden should make an exception for somebody who's been around and so loyal to the Garden, like a Vince McMahon. Why not cut the guy a deal? He's like grandfathered in with Madison Square Garden. Half of the fucking staff of Madison Square Garden is probably half Vince McMahon's age. They probably weren't even born when the first WWE event was run by Vince Jr. in the 70s or 80s. These are next gen, the new generation of Madison Square Garden office. And this is their price, and that's what they're charging. I say, why not? Why not? You're so hungry for their attention. You know how much money they're going to generate, and you know how much of a buzz it's going to bring around Madison Square Garden. Cut your fees. Cut your fees. Make the WWE happy. And then the WWE will use you more often. And everybody's happy. Everybody's going to be making money. I don't understand. You need to take it all from Vince right off the get-go? Not that I'm standing up for the WWE, because conversely, they have been nothing but disrespectful to Madison Square Garden in the face of this, whatever this is. I don't want to call it a scandal, but it's definitely tension. Their negotiations are not going well, and the WWE has found a new home. I actually don't like the Barclays. I don't like it. The area has been built up beautifully, and the arena on the inside, there's not really a bad seat in the house, but it's a bad part of New York to get to. It's not very easy to get to. It's hard to park. It's just it's not Madison Square Garden. A New York person who's my age that's a wrestling fan will understand exactly what that statement means. The Barclays, it's fine. It's fine. It's not my favorite venue in the world, but it's not Madison Square Garden. And why they wouldn't want to use Madison Square Garden for things like a WrestleMania and things like a Royal Rumble and a Survivor Series, a lot of you guys are going to be like, why wouldn't they do that? It's almost like that's where it has to be. Why do they keep going to the Meadowlands? Why do they keep going to the Barclays? I don't think it really has anything to do with the hefty price tag, because Vince McMahon has money out his ass. They're printing cash in the WWE right now. They make no bones about it, and they're very proud to throw it in your face and tell you how much money they're making, even though the fans are displeased with the on-screen product. They have no problem with that. And I don't think they'd have a problem shelling out money to be at Madison Square Garden, because like I said, they're doing it for the house shows. So why not do it for the major shows out of spite? No, I don't even think they're that petty. You might think it's that. But I think it simply comes down to seating. Madison Square Garden has what, 20,000, maybe 30,000 seats tops? You want a 30,000 seat arena for WrestleMania? You can't do that now. Vince has grown it to a point where you have to have WrestleMania in a stadium because you want to make that announcement of almost 100,000 people were here tonight. You're going to go to Madison Square Garden, you're going to have a sellout crowd of 27,968 people or whatever the total number is. That's not impressive. That's not WrestleMania level. That's not pay-per-view big. They need it to look big. They want it to be grandiose. This is the same Madison Square Garden that has been there since the 60s. It's not made to house an event like WrestleMania anymore because WrestleMania has outgrown a venue like Madison Square Garden. Vince McMahon is an evil genius. He knows this. He knows this. That's why he don't give a shit. I really don't think he even cares about Madison Square Garden anymore because Madison Square Garden didn't upgrade. They didn't move to the lower east or the lower west side of Manhattan when they were going to rebuild the whole thing and they were going to have a bigger, badder ass Madison Square Garden, and that all fell through. And then you had the Meadowlands built up instead. Like, it's a relic of the past. It pains me to say, but it almost really is. And for the first time ever, the WWE does not have exclusivity, at least for the time being, as Madison Square Garden has allowed an outside promotion to book an event. We are going to have to see how this develops. But with everything I just threw out there to you, I want you guys to tell me, what do you think? Which one of the ideas, or which one of the reasons that I gave you do you think is the real reason that the WWE and Madison Square Garden are seemingly at odds right now? Do you think Vince just doesn't think it has what it takes anymore to fill the seats that he wants to fill? It's too small of a venue for Vince to run these major events. He'll run a house show, no problem. No problem, we'll pay the fees too. Doesn't bother him then. So what's the difference? Is he just being spiteful because of the high prices? And he won't run the bigger shows because maybe they come with a bigger price tag? You let me know what you think. I want to know your thoughts. Leave it down in the comments section below. And now, for our top story tonight. Once again, the report courtesy of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. You guys, I hate this story because I am probably like you, one of the many diehard CM Punk fans that hated the way he left the wrestling business, hated the way he was used leading up to his exit of the wrestling business, absolutely was behind him and full support of him for his UFC run, even though his first fight was not anything anybody would want as their debut fight, or, you know, if that's your favorite guy and that was his first fight, you weren't feeling good after CM Punk's first fight. But it was his first fight, and MMA is not pro wrestling, and I stayed and supported with him even then. And now that we've come full circle to a point in his life that he's definitely been waiting for, And all of this that we're about to talk about comes off of the heels of the conclusion of the 3-year legal battle between CM Punk, Colt Cabana, and the WWE, based off of that ridiculous podcast interview that the WWE has taken aims at as defamation of character to Dr. Chris Amon. Right, so this whole trial was going on all weekend long. You don't need to know the details. All you need to know is CM Punk and Colt Cabana won the decision. They owe nothing to nobody, and now he can move on with his life. This automatically made most of us assume that he was going to end up at All In, because he's doing the meet and greet there for them. We just assumed that maybe that's where he would make his wrestling return. We were hopeful that Daniel Bryan was going to be his opponent if he doesn't sign with the WWE again. But I don't think he would be cleared from his clause in time to be able to take part in September 1st's All-In event, regardless who his opponent would be. But that's another story for another day. CM Punk, now that he's free of this thing that has been burdening him for so long, we're all very hopeful was coming back to wrestling in one way or another. But after yesterday, that does not seem to be the case. CM Punk is ready to put his pro wrestling career behind him. And here is the official story. After saying yesterday that he didn't think he'd be open to an offer to return to the ring, Punk clarified his position during today's UFC 225 Media Day in Chicago. This is his statement, and I quote, I'm done with professional wrestling. A lot of people like to be mad at me about that and make fun of me because I lost my first fight. And it's like, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but you do not own me, and I'm entitled to do what I want to do, and that's what I'm doing. Wrestling is in the rearview mirror. I've been trying for 5 years to put wrestling in the rearview mirror. And sometimes people, they won't let it go. I don't know. They want to live my life for me. I kind of understand that, but it doesn't matter what I say. I've said no so many times that people will always just kind of be like, oh, so you're saying there's a chance. End quote. Punk was following up on comments that he made during an interview with Ariel Helwani yesterday. Helwani asked Punk if he'd be participating in Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks All-In show this September, and Punk replied he would not be. Punk said that no one has ever made him a concrete offer to wrestle for them since he's left the WWE in 2014. He said he didn't think he'd be open to one and feels like he's out of the business. But he didn't completely close the door at that point on something coming up in the future. However, this new report seems to close the book completely. Punk's second MMA fight will be taking place at the United Center this Saturday. Pretty fucked up timing if you ask me. And he will probably open the pay-per-view portion of UFC 225. This news sucks to me, but much like he said, and, I don't want to seem like an asshole fan or, one of these basement dwellers that I guess going to say, oh, he's going to come back. Oh, he's going to come back. I know it. I just know it. No shit. But this is wrestling. And you just can never truly say never. We could be sitting here. I could be sitting at this desk 10 years from now, still doing what I do, bringing you the best in pro wrestling coverage. And I could be reporting to you that CM Punk is finally going to have a return to the WWE, one match with this guy, and blah, blah, blah. You really just never know. That's what he feels right now. And he's entitled to feel that. As of today, CM Punk is done with professional wrestling, and he is going to focus his life on his MMA career. Hopefully he could turn that around into a winning career, and I wish him all the very best in doing so. Like I said, that does not mean that when the day comes that he hangs up his MMA gloves, maybe this doesn't go the way he wants it to. Maybe one day he turns around and says, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. Bret Hart once said no too. You know what I mean? And you just have to figure, after everything that went down with them, if Bret could come back, even though he was old and gray and whatever, he did it. He came back, you put water under the bridge, you end up in the Hall of Fame, and it's a beautiful thing. CM Punk will end up in the WWE Hall of Fame one day. Does he have to come back to the company to do that? I don't know. But I definitely believe it'll happen. Someday. It definitely should. It's disappointing to me, as we were all hoping to see him come back to the ring and abandon the Octagon, because none of us really enjoy seeing that. We want to see the pipe bomb, the Second City Saint, the savior of the masses. We want all that. But it doesn't look like we're going to get it. And that sucks. That's going to do it for today. Those are our two top stories coming at you this Thursday, June the 7th, 2018. I want to thank you guys for being with me as always. Do not forget, if you are not already a member of the Sledgehammer Club, make sure you subscribe today. Become a member of the Sledgehammer Club, the newest, fastest, hottest, rising community of wrestling fans in all of YouTube. The Sledgehammer Club is growing. It's strong. It's in full force. You could leave your comments down in the comments section below, as always. Most importantly, make sure that you let me know that you enjoyed today's show by smashing that thumbs up. Give it a Shinsuke Nakamura style elbow to the nuts, or kick it in the face, or inseguri it, or whatever you want to do. Give it a back suplex. Why not? Just do whatever you want to do. Just make sure that it gets pressed, that thumbs up, so that I know that you enjoyed today's show and I can keep coming at you with the absolute best wrestling news on the planet. More importantly than even hitting that like button is you guys. I need you guys to share this video with all of your wrestling friends across the wrestling world. Make sure that they are aware that we are here and that they come along and join and subscribe as well and become part of the Sledgehammer Club. Big things are brewing on this channel, you guys. We got plans in the future. We are going to make it more fun for you guys, more and more each and every week. If you guys did not watch Raw and SmackDown's review this week, you absolutely missed two of my favorite episodes that I've ever done. We had the debut of the Constable Corbin, not Constable Baron Corbin. We have our own Constable Corbin on this show. If you want to see him, you want to hear him in real life, all you got to do is watch this week's Monday Night Raw review, which will be linked in the annotations in the upper right-hand corner for you to click away. We also had a special guest on the SmackDown Live review. We had Bootyworth's hat. We had Mr. Bootyworth's hat, and we showed you how the WWE actually uses that hat. So if you missed that, make sure you go check out the SmackDown Live review. We just put up, just minutes ago, we finished recording our House of Glory preview and predictions for this Saturday's Temperature Rising event at the NYC Arena. Check that video out for more details and information. That's why I have this here, because Juba rules. This will be my weekend to see my buddy Juba, and I cannot wait. House of Glory turning up the heat this weekend with Temperature Rising. I am going to be there front row. You should be there too. Tickets are still available. Go to hogwrestling.net right now if you want to go and come and say hello. If you do, I will be there in the flesh, just like this. I'll shake your hand, you know, we can take a picture, whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. I love to meet my fans. It's absolutely fucking great, and I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys there. That's everything we have up on the channel this week. There's countless shit for you guys to watch. We got top 5 lists. We got all kinds of stuff, because this is a pro wrestling channel for pro wrestling fans by a pro wrestling fan, and I hope you guys enjoy each and every minute that you are here. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Wrestling God of Thunder, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, right here on Sledgehammer TV, and my little buddy, my trusty companion. I want to give him a hug. That's why I'm like this. The World Heavyweight Champion of microphones, Blue the Snowball. This has been the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show right here on Sledgehammer TV. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. @Nick Nightmare is the handle. Check us out on Facebook. Facebook.com/The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. If you are listening on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher Radio, don't forget to check out the YouTube channel. YouTube.com/Sledgehammer TV. Thank you all so very much. That is going to do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Have a good one.